guys are like killing it in the weather out here right now.
It's beautiful. So you came out for opening night. We're filming.
Oh, sorry.
And it played very well last night. You must have been a little nervous, JC.
Terribly.
You looked
It's
a little
horrible.
nervous.
I was nervous, and I've got like a little thing going on in my family, so I was like, just like a little on edge. I was definitely on edge, but because normally, like, don't they release the reviews in the morning, and then the party thing, the screening at night, is normally either a really cool thing where everyone's celebrating, or the reviews were terrible and like the world is over basically. But that they didn't do it until the thing was over, so I had no idea.
So you walked out of the movie and hit
the
you.
fact that they were laughing at those
cool.
key moments made me feel like they were kind of getting what we were trying to do, in that he's this sort of self-serious guy, you know, one might say a touch too self-serious at times, but yet he's human, right? And so when these things happen, which I always found were kind of funny, it was kind of cool to see that other people actually thought they were funny too. So anyway, that's where I started to feel like the room was working for us, which is great. Obviously.
And it's a big, big room. It's the place where they have the Oscars, where you lost to Woody Allen.
I know, that was a bit. I did do a joke about that. It was like a little brunch, but you know, it was Borscht Belt, but in a good way. That room, the Dolby people, I was talking to them beforehand, have done an unbelievable job, because normally when you have a room with those two upper tiers that they didn't have people in, but the sound can get up there and basically get washed out. But those Dolby guys have figured out how to, like, sound was great. Where were you? Could you hear?
I was up front, and it was fantastic.
Great.
And it looked fantastic.
Yeah, Bradford is...
He's
incredible.
Remarkable.
Strangely, Oscar is more handsome on film than in person, and
as it should be.
I think you're handsome both places. But, I'm glad you lost the beard. Are you growing it back?
Yeah, one area at a time. Yeah, this is every time you see me, I have like a
totally radical.
Last time I had the beard.
Remember, that was the first time I ever met him, like, formally, was he's trying to play this guy who I'm like, yeah, he's a real, you know, straight and narrow, and you were playing like a crazy person, right, or something? Sort of?
Yeah.
And it was huge.
I'm like, but the beard comes off. You have a little imagination.
It's hard to have imagination.
All right.
Yeah.
So you developed this with Javier Bardem.
I did. And
what is the reason that didn't work out?
The script, and he's a wonderful guy. If he walked in the room, I'd hug it out with him. I wanted the movie to kind of be the one that you saw, which was where the script was. I've been working with him on the script, and he wanted it to go in a little more black and white direction, which wasn't, you know, we've slowly over a couple of months realized it's probably not going to happen. And it was at that exact time that I was arrived in Cannes with All Is Lost. And I saw Jessica, who had been kind of circling the project, and she said, how did it go with Bardem? And I said, not that well. I don't know if it's going to happen. And she started whispering about this classmate of hers from Juilliard, very artfully at first. And then she's like, by the way, did you know he's in the latest Coen Brothers movie, which was also at Cannes at that period? I didn't know that he was. And then I didn't get to see it. My wife went, and my wife sees it, starts like having a good crush on him. And she's like talking about him and how handsome he is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, isn't that a movie about like a loser musician? Like, what is this like? It's like, I'm not getting it. But Scott Rudin, and I tease him about this to this day, would not show me the movie because I had missed like the 2 public screenings or whatever. And so I had to wait till I actually saw the movie. But Oscar and I had met a couple times in that interim period, and basically, you know, the role is, and I realized this about myself in writing it, it's about an American. You know, this guy is an American as American as it kind of gets. And, you know, Oscar's story as a human being on planet Earth, and also what I was writing and coming up with, have some similarities that then the minute I sort of also figured out that you could actually act a little bit, sort of a no-brainer. And then I just had to convince someone to pay for it, so, which we did pretty quickly.
Yeah, we did.
Got our cash. The thing is that the movie rests very squarely on your shoulders. It's a tall, you carry it. I think it's the coat.
The coat. Talk about
The
square.
coat.
I mean, come on.
Square shoulders.
When I put him in the coat for the first time, he was like, "Really?" It's like this is where we're going. And but Kasia, the costumer on this movie is so unbelievable, and she actually is a Polish and American woman and lives in Greenpoint, the neighborhood where
what
these
he said
guys
was
live.
what was really amazing at one point was, that the suits are like his armor. And I just thought that was something that's very active that I could get behind. I mean, and there's something. Last night was the first time I saw it as well, and there was just something that struck me that this guy could exist in any century. Really.
Yeah.
There was something quite courtly about him as well, and the formality, that's so gone now. Really, this kind of his formal nature. And it was a suit of armor that he had. The cars, everything. It wasn't about the normal thing that you think of, like the social aspects of it, or the, projecting some sort of. It was more about the strength behind those things. I just thought that was really, really cool and evident.
This man is being beaten on every front. I mean, he's under unbelievable duress. And I thought it was very interesting that you started out establishing him as a runner.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the running about? Relieving the stress? What was give us a take on the running, which pays off in the end.
Yeah,
course.
That's right. It was a good payoff, right?
Smart guy.
I think it's I wish I was a runner. I gotta be honest. If you want to, I mean, as an actor, he then took it and made it sort of this amazing thing that then in the later parts of the film are amazing, because the running actually, you do sort of see what it was and part of his life. But I think
we'll
as a
just
writer,
say that it pays off in a crucial chase.
Yes, he needs to be able to do that to actually sort of find something out. And it's not a sprinter, right? It's like more the long distance, the long view. So it's like but for me, I was starting the film because it's like, I'm not a runner, and I wish I was. So you're sort of writing with, sometimes that's what you get to do is live, there's something so poetic about something, because all you need is like a pair of shoes, basically, and you just can go out there in the way, like...
There's something about this, like a determination that you see, I think.
Yeah.
By someone that's waking up early in the morning, that there's a regiment that this person has. And I think it also takes on the fact that there's an impending thing happening. He's running towards a future. He's running away from a past, and that's it's embodied literally in him running.
And he's running through these amazing destroyed areas of New Jersey.
No, sadly, actually, not sadly.
Brooklyn.
A lot of it is Brooklyn, and then for a couple of those, which I felt you had to see some of that sort of promise, the decay, basically, that was going on in New York at that time, which was these huge
1981.
buildings. Yeah, these huge buildings and infrastructure that people had put together because of a lack, in a matter of 10 years, because they weren't keeping them up. They were sort of crumbling, and the city starts to fall apart, which is scary about humanity, right? All it takes is about 10 years, and the roofs start to cave in. And for better, obviously, we could not find that on the East Coast of the United States. In a couple cities that had had terrible blight, they have a new policy where they just knock the buildings down immediately when it becomes a blighted area. So we went to Detroit for one day.
It looks like Detroit.
And that's exactly, and that is what, we have all these photographs from New York City that my cinematographer and I were using as our sort of inspiration points. And I kept handing the same picture to my location guy, and I was like, no. I'm like, because
in New Jersey, there's all that industrial crap.
I know, but it's
am
not.
I remembering
It's
that
not
from the 80s?
This is the craziest thing,
I
which
lived in New York
you would never think of this, but so land around the New York metropolitan area is so valuable that, like, even to store, so you can go out to one of those blighted areas, right? But there's a $25,000 chain link fence that has just been installed around an abandoned lot with like marble stored in it or something. Like, I'm just making that up, but like always, like in every, I'm like, I need 4 blocks where they can just freaking run. And there are not 4 blocks where, trust me, I looked, and there are not 4 blocks. And so then what we realized, it was actually really poetic and kind of cool, because one would hope that Detroit will turn itself around in the same way that New York has. And so we actually realized, like, it's kind of a cool thing to do. It was when we had finished the movie. We got about 5 of us. We all flew out there with a camera crew and just ran through these, like, you know, and probably only like 7 or 8 shots in the entire film from that little trip. But it changed. You had to see that level of, like, it's like human civilization in recession. I mean, it's like they're receding, man, and it's an ugly thing to watch. And it plays, you know, so.
No, it does.
And they were lucky enough to all go along. They're like, are we really flying all the way to Detroit for like 5 shots? And I was like, yep.
You were right.
And
No,
Chris
it
Abbott,
was worth it.
Chris's face, you know, it's so great because, like, on those shots, but he loved it. We all went to Detroit. It was a blast.
So Sidney Lumet, is he a touchstone for you on this one? Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's certainly, I'm honored to even have it be brought up in the same breath. I wish I was like, you know, Scorsese or one of these guys who have like a, you know, library of knowledge of former films in their head. But I've probably seen almost all of Sidney Lumet's films, but most of them not in the last 10 years.
The reason I say that is, A, it's New York.
Yeah.
B, it's the 70s, which this seems to